Good morning, everyone. Looking around here this morning, I click on the Dow futures and it got a different picture. As always, we don't know where these things are going to end, but the end of last week looked like the markets are ready to blast off to the upside, and that still may be the case. Maybe got a little bit ahead of itself. A lot of news coming out this weekend, the Fed speaking Wednesday, Thursday. So there's always something to worry about or concerns, or this market make some gyrations. But this little, I don't know, I think my words were questionable buy setup. We talked about this Thursday or Friday. And the reason I said that, as we look at some other markets, um, it was above any support. This one did pull back to the 20, so it showed some relative weakness, and it didn't move up as much. It didn't make new highs. And now here this morning, it's only 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock. This is all of a sudden started to roll to the downside, and it's actually begun to accelerate. So with patterns like this, what you typically would see is either a gap up or a slight gap down, unchanged. This could be all the way back up here by the time it's 9:30. It seems unlikely, but it is coming down to support. So we'll see what the reaction is. As always, we look to the left. There's all these pivot lows down here. The retracement should not have come down that far based on this daily pattern, but it has. So we've got this short-term weakness, and the question becomes, okay, buyers, as anxious as you were at the end of last week to buy the dip ahead of the news and close it strong. Well, others were stronger than this, but all of a sudden now you're throwing it back. So I haven't looked at the Dow stocks, but something in there clearly is pulling back, maybe more than one. As I looked through the Dow stocks over the weekend, it wasn't impressive except for a few things. So, but anyway, other things, obviously the semiconductors look like they're going to go to the moon. So, and that's the concern, because looking at these different markets and how they acted at the end of the last week, they should accelerate higher. And we'll just look at these futures here. They're down a little bit. Here's this pattern where you get this consolidation at the upper part of the wide range bar. There was those little dip that occurred last week on Thursday, and buyers stepped up again, and then it pushes higher. And this is what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I heard the Apple news, so sounds like the UK is trying to fund some of their deficits or whatever's going on over there, clip Apple for a couple of billion. I don't know. Well, Apple all by itself has pulled it down like that. I guess it could, you know. I guess they have to. What stocks are they going to change in the Dow? Right? They need to put Nvidia in there now. This, I think I read this SCMI. They're putting that in the S&P. So they're always doing their switching around to keep markets elevated. But looking at the patterns, this is what should be on a morning like this with these kind of bullish patterns. Um, Top of the bar, down a little bit, but it'll recover. It's supposed to recover, and you got support down here. It's not even supposed to get down there, right? So the top of this bar, give or take, or buyers come in the middle of nowhere. As we look at that, the middle of nowhere, if we zero in, on some, maybe right here, there's some support, these overlapping bars, that could be a point of interest as it pulls back. We'll see. But that's the kind of price action that we should see after what we saw the end of last week. All right. We looked at the Dow. This is what we should see. Right now, clearly, Apple would affect futures right? Maybe not so much the Dow's only 30 stocks, but this is the kind of price action that we should see after last week. Consolidation, bullish consolidation at resistance, gap reversal, it continues higher and it should continue to go higher. Any close near the low of Friday is a problem. And without any big news coming out today, other than whatever cares about Apple, there's no major announcements as far as economics until tomorrow. So small caps look great, right? We had this whippy, wild price action a couple of weeks ago, and it's recovered. You can see it's coming up to that pivot high. So a little resistance there, but overall it's hanging in there pretty well. So spiders, where are they at? Top of the bar, right? Not a big deal. You got significant support down here where it was jiggling around last week. There was that dip and reversal. So technically, the pattern suggested would go up. It's like nobody cared about the news in the end. But hey, it's in an uptrend. We've got another unfilled gap now. Moving averages are moving further apart. The pullback, bullish, bought the dip. That should continue to go higher. If it doesn't, disappointment, because it's not supposed to. You're not supposed to get a weak close with a pattern like this. It is what it is historically. Yeah, it's extended on the weekly. Momentum slowed down. Right? The range is smaller, but it should begin to move higher. Now, with the news coming out, the Fed guy talking Wednesday and Thursday, we may be in for more backing and filling as traders just want to see what the next news is, shoot a drop or, good information as the market would see it. Anyway, after today, well, this bar's got nothing to the left, but clearly this is going to become a significant support level, which is the area of last week's low. Based on this pattern, any deep retracement down here, it's a short-term problem. And it shouldn't even get anywhere near this major support. That's for sure. It shouldn't even get to the 20 MA with a pattern like this. SPX, let's see if these numbers have changed. Yeah, since things have come off a little bit, this could become 90. These numbers change quickly. So, what I'm posting here, it certainly changed by the open. So keep that in mind. So this is pretty close, bullish price action. I think the bottom number has the better odds because regardless of whatever the news is on Apple and whatever pulling back here, by no means should this come down below today's low. Just shouldn't. As I said, the opening slide was it's going to move higher or it's going to be a major disappointment. So chopping around somewhere in here within this range, it did push higher. It created a void. This area right here, these overlapping bars, intraday, that's going to be a support area where buyers will step up if it pulls back there. I'm just looking at my cursor. It's in the middle of the daily bar, so that's reasonable. It's the top of this pivot high, so that lines up with it. So any pullback, buyers should be lurking somewhere in this area on SPX, and which is well above that strike. Whether it gets down there in the first half hour or so, we'll all see together. Now, transports didn't do much of anything last week. At least they didn't go down. But, as the markets were as bullish as they were, ideally this would have moved up at least a bit, and it didn't. So that's a short-term concern. interest rates were the big surprise as they came down real hard. Now they closed down near the bottom of the wide range bar, which is what we don't want to see after a bullish wide range bar. And now they're gapping up. So uncertainty, crazy market action. I mean, we'll see where this ends. If something comes down like this, I mean, it is in an uptrend, a questionable uptrend after Friday. This starts chopping sideways in here, starts moving higher. That idea of accelerating to the upside starts to lose its steam. So we'll keep that in mind. IWM we looked at, looks okay. This looks great, retailing, nice rounding bottom. It's moving up, bottoming tail bar. That looks great. SMHs were gapping up earlier, whipping around there a little bit too far, too fast as an unfilled gap. But clearly, this is what was moving the markets primarily last week. As I mentioned in the green room, look, if you just sort the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100, if your platform allows you to sort the stocks that are in the index, it's all semiconductors, primarily semiconductors. So that's good, but the breadth was terrible, and it continues to be terrible. You can see, inched up a little bit, but the day-to-day breadth, that's the right chart. You can see that's pretty anemic for a market where the S&P is making new all-time highs and the NASDAQ 100 making new all-time highs. Anyway, they're neutral at this point, the internal, so we'll see which way they go. Tech broke out. Of course, semiconductors, that looks great. Financials didn't do much of anything. So a little surprising, but look, set an alert above these highs. Maybe they'll play some catch up. Momentum came to a screeching halt. You see that little candle body right there. But let's see. I mean, surprisingly, I don't know what's going on with Goldman Sachs compared to, say, JP Morgan, but this thing can't get out of its own way. It's just a big mess where, others look like, well, maybe short-term extended, but there should be buyers on pullbacks. And so clearly this is the winner. Gold looks amazing. It broke out. And I said on Friday, the way this was looking, hey, consider a starter position. And as interest rates came down, it just exploded higher. And it looks to me, well, on a closing basis, that looks like a new high for the futures. And this is a continuous contract, but I mean, this sideways consolidation that went on for a few months into the rising 20. That's why I was saying this looks like it's going to go up. And for the longest time, week to week, it was like, this thing is just a mess. Stay away from it. So that looks like it should go higher. Silver underperformed, but it popped up a little bit. And XME, which is more than just that, it's got this rounding bottom. So this ETF, maybe we get a little sideways price action. So, people maybe want to see was Friday's move for real? Or, or is we going to get another whipsaw in the other direction? So a little sideways price action here would go a long way for us to consider this. Let's buy this, looking for this thing to go higher, because that's a decent looking weekly chart right there. Bottoming tail bar that broke the lows, as it came down in an uptrend, and what we call making the turn, and you can see it on the daily chart. Pivot, break the low, deep retracement, little sideways price action. I got my alert there. TBT, interest rates, ETF, gapping up here into the middle of that bar, just erratic. Now, energy started breaking out. And another one is this for real, right? Or is it going to be a peekaboo high and back in again? So I'd like to see what this is going to do today. Crude oil, put that contract. It's up a little bit. You can see it poked up above this resistance where it was chopping back and forth, and now it's above it. So there's a little choppy price action here. And set alert, if we see oil go up and if we should see interest rates turn that around, it's going to be kind of crazy, but it is what it is. So you want to keep an eye on that. If interest rates push up and oil starts pushing up again, and the dollar, which certainly helped gold as the dollar came back in, if all of this reverses, it's just insanity. But look, overall, things are bullish. Some things look questionable, and we'll see what unfolds today. And of course, get through the economic news again and what the Fed guy is going to say. What's he going to say different this time? I guess we'll all wait to see what comes out of his mouth. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. I'm just adjusting this. Had an alarm go off. There's a print up there. All right, Monday. So Mondays are typically busy for me. New trades, open trades, big watch list. And I like the gap down. I still have a ton of alarms going off. But I like having a bias and then having a gap against it, because then hopefully you don't have to rush into things and they have to reverse their little morning gap to trigger. All right, so see, we're long this thing. Nice little breakout. I see a print up here. You can try to offer some pre-market. All right, I had a couple of alarms here on BXP. All right, this is a new trade, but I don't see any gaps. IBM, notice how the pre-market did go off, and I don't like that. I got slammed all the way back down. But that's okay. Let me just reset my alarm. So it is not triggering. Paddle here. Asking about rig. How does it look above Friday's high? It's in a downtrend still. I think you can find a lot better oils. And it's down pre-market, so I don't think it's going to trigger. Here, I posted this one I got from Sam I Am. That it's not oil, but MRC. Look, was it Wednesday? Last Wednesday, we did symmetrical triangles and MT Live. Look at that. That is 100% a beautiful bull flag. Flagpole, flag, 180 reversal, bullish weekly, bullish monthly. So this I like a lot from Sam's list. All right, let me check alarms here on things. All right, see how my ADM. This was going to be a put spread, I believe, but it's coming in. So let me just reset the alarm. Second. It's over 54.55. All right, done. On Amazon. I Okay, I can reset that. It was just over the closing price, but it's coming in. So again, I like when they're coming in. Netflix. This was a put spread. It's coming in. All right, it's good. So these are, I don't have to worry about these triggering at the open. SMTC. I see one print up here. It's not liquid, so we'll come back to you. Tan. This is the bottoming pattern, daily, weekly, monthly. Well, you know what's interesting on this tan? It's actually it's multiple W bottoms. I mean, this is not a W here just because it's a 180, but here, this is a W bottom right here relative to this and this. So it's a mini double bottom within a monster double bottom. See that? But one thing's for sure, this price action is it's not going below these numbers. That's where fundamental kicks in. They're like, all right, that's a good value here. All right, so that's on our list. Gold on our list. All right, those are all my alarms going off. Mention CVLT. The team actually, we're in. My alarm went off. We have a put spread on that. And now it's earnings. There's not many earnings. Soho. Soho earnings, but that's garbage. No interest. Southeast 56, gapping up 10%. That could be a 30-minute low short or a call spread. There's no pattern. Lincer 60. That's a big gap, gapping up $1.30. The gap's too big and no volume anyway. Lumber liquidator. It was up earlier, and I was going to say that this is a bottoming pattern. If it was going to gap up and hold the gap, still in the downtrend. We'll come back to it. URI. I don't know why I'm looking at you. Maybe favorable barons. Boeing, and I don't know if this is the reason for the weakness the other day. Robert, I'd say yes, because it's a bullish turn at the bottom. So yeah, it looks great. I mean, it doesn't have to be a double bottom at the double bottom, but because we just lump it into the category, but we want a potent reversal. But yeah, it's a potent reversal. All right, Boeing, I read that they're buying that supplier SPR. So what I heard? Maybe so. Maybe that's what got this rocking on Friday and Boeing falling. GE favorable barons. This thing's been on a tear. When a stock is up this much, this far from all the MAs, and now it makes the cover of barons, that's like a short-term death nail. So let's keep an eye on that, because it's like your timing is retarded. Where were you back here in the formative days? So let's keep an eye on that for a call spread. UPS had favorable barons. Let's set an alarm 148.80 for a put spread. We actually have a put spread in his cousin, FedEx. Intuit is going to be added onto the S&P 100. Trade's a little wild, and I did look at this for a put spread, but it was too illiquid. on EXC getting kicked out. And I'll come when we slow down. I'll look at all the lists of things I'm tracking around in the different indexes. Sam, this is on yours. I like as a potential put spread. Let's set an alarm 69.65. CSX alarm, that was Greg mentioned in the weekend letter. Little alarm just went off. KMI, that's Sam's list. I'd like it to go sideways a little bit more, but if it can break out, it has room. So Sam, I'll let you watch it. I just saw Save tanking here pre-market. You can only assume that's related to a pre-earnings release or merger news. Let's see if JetBlue is moving. Yeah. So there's news in the JetBlue department. The JetBlue was trying to buy them, but hey, this is now a buy setup with a retest. 678. So that's a watch. JetBlue, put in that middle chart. Wix alarm just went off. Bull 1, 2, 3. See, I like that Friday had a topping tail. That's why I had an alarm. I had an alarm. Let's see if it could get back here to 141, and it did. So that's a watch. HSDDT. That's a pro gap. Nasty downtrend, gapping way the heck up here over all these pivots. If this one gap broke the backbone of that downtrend, but it doesn't, just because I say a pro gap doesn't mean it's tradable. TSM, I just looked at with NVIDIA's strength, another AI stock, obviously, and look at that, $140. I mean, that's a monster gap. That gap in the, it'd be a closing all-time high. Amazing strength. An ACN alarm go off. We're long stock on this. Let me just reset the alarm. Roberto, we are actually in it already. We did a bull call debit spread on this on Friday. So yes, I like it. It still looks good. Still looks good. I'd say, don't rush into it with with the market gapping down, but yeah, it still looks good. Wow, ACN, nice reversal. My alarms are going nuts now, so I'm gonna be busy here. 379.50. Yeah, this is what happens to me on Monday morning. The CVLT, all right, shoot, did not gap up the way I was hoping. Wow, CCM, that looks great. Okay. All right, I just gotta go through all my alerts here. Look at Google. Google, I said, looks like it's headed to the 200. Google, Tesla, Apple have become weak. All right, I just gotta go one by one. XME, alarm, Charlie Echo. All right, Charlie Echo. Let's do 5-minute high, 153.16. ACI alarm. Q's coming in the hardest. Wow, diamonds. Nice big old 5-minute